last video, which I'd encourage you to take a look at, we talked about listening to the system and seeing and observing patterns, recognizing how they point back to my leadership so that I can change and alter the way that I'm leading. We tend to shelf listening, like, I'll get to that later. Yeah, that's one of those things that I need to do to make people feel good. I get it. And we are just like, almost like we treat listening like this coddling people skill. We make time for it when we kind of can make time for it. It's not that important to the bottom line, but it is everything to the bottom line. There is so much waste that most organizations don't even touch, lurking below the surface because of the lack of listening. So in this episode of Listening to the System, I want to talk about who do we need to listen to when we're listening to the system. You need to get some exposure well past the level that's just below you in your hierarchy. The front line is important because it's where the rubber meets the road in any company. The people that interact directly with our customers, the people who build a product in a manufacturing environment. So get out into the front lines and you want to start to build up enough capacity to see the different parts of your system and to start to put patterns together. I really like for leaders to develop such a cadence of getting out where the work is done and just observing it that people get used to seeing them. And then a cadence where they're not just simply saying hello, how are you? I'm showing up, I'm showing my face. It's kind of like that political shaking hands and kissing babies. That's not what we're after. When I go out to the front lines and I listen and I start to see all the problems out there, the temptation is to want to judge. I want to judge that person, or I want to judge the leader of that person, or I want to judge the leaders that report to me. What I want all leaders to do is to hold off on judgment. In no case do I want that to knee-jerk into a reaction, an instant reaction. It's very, very unhealthy. When I listen and I hear all of these problems that are happening at the front line, I want to just be curious and understand it. That's all. And then after I've gathered all this data, then I start to figure out what my move is. If you're a leader of leaders of leaders, you solve it through that chain. You do not solve these problems yourself. We want to get to the point where we start to go, what am I saying or not saying? How are we developing our leadership teams or not developing them? I want a system that solves its own problem. If I can do that and not knee-jerk, okay, I'm gonna be the one that solves everyone's problems. Listening for how I lead differently at my level and start to cascade that needed change down through the organization.